be a little bit ability to communicate. Are we ready to go, Ashlyn? Can you hear me? Good to go. All right.
Good to go.
Okay. All right.
My fat showing.
Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Huddle, where we discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. I'm Paul Stuart, and I'm joined, as usual, by Jose and Daniel at Preferred Flooring.
Hey, everyone.
Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Good.
Doing pretty good.
Awesome. All
I mean,
right.
even if we
Well,
weren't doing good, we'd probably tell you we're doing pretty good.
yeah. Well, it's busy, and I know we're all, the standard line is trying to keep up, but kind of plays into today's topic pretty well. At one point, a lot of us were twiddling our thumbs, so it's a welcomed problem to have to try to keep up. That means we got business rolling and things are rocking, and although with a lot of uncertainty in the economy, fact is a lot of people are very busy, so that's a good thing, and I'm glad you guys are. So this week we're going to talk about how 2020 and the pandemic changed the flooring industry. Now, I don't really care to really go through this, I don't know, negative, all the bads. I think that, with every tough situation or negative situation, good comes out of it. And are you guys stuck on seeing the video on your side?
Nope, didn't even pop up.
Okay, very
Well,
good.
it did pop up, but then I
Oh,
took it off.
Okay.
Daniel does a lot of clicking over here, and he loses me pretty quick.
It was right here. So yeah, this other screen is still stuck on GoCarrera screen share.
All right. Well, we'll let them take care of that. We're gonna get going here on the positives. What came out of it? What are we doing different today that really, we didn't expect? I was going to start it off with the rise of technology. I mean, the fact is it kind of forced people through their fear of technology. I mean, you didn't really have a choice than to learn Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Google Meet. People that still had flip phones now have smartphones because they're meeting on Zoom. I mean, I've had Zoom calls with guys who, still had a flip phone, and now they got a smartphone so that they can be on Zoom calls, and they know how to work the technology. And they would have never ever picked up that piece of technology without being forced to through circumstances outside their own control. They didn't really have a choice. So a lot of the good stuff that's come out of it, I think, is obviously communication is heightened as long as the technology is used correctly. I also believe that it's increased our ability to earn. So if you're sick but you feel well, you're contagious, right, at work, you stay at home. You really kind of want to work, but you can't because you can't go to the office. Well, today you just simply work from home. Yeah, I mean, it moved so fast over the last 2 years that it doesn't even seem like that's a big deal. But if you think about it, it's really huge. Just a few years back, if you had a sick kid, you would simply stay at home with that kid and either eat your PTO up or your vacation time, whatever a company, however you're set up at your companies, or pull on your PTO or whatever. Today, if you have a sick kid and everything's okay and you could still work, you just got to be there for them because they can't be in daycare. Your ability to earn is still there. You simply remote into your office, or you have remote accesses. People are go to my PC surge during this whole pandemic, and as well as, like I said, Zoom and Teams and all the other communications, Google Meet. So it increased the ability to earn even if you're not on site. Now, even with the installers, our crews, we've seen a similar deal. Now, you can't install flooring remote, but we've had superintendents Zoom in with our foreman of a project who may be sick to communicate with the installers on site and make sure the job's still going well, so that he had video access to what's going on job site. So, it's really changed a lot of things for the positive. What's your guys' insight on that? I mean, how many Zoom calls did you have beforehand? I mean, today's huddle is a prime example. I'm in beautiful Memphis, Tennessee, working with a national client on a program for the next 5 years. And here I am, just like I was in my office in my home city, right? Other than the backdrop, you don't know the difference. It's pretty cool. So what have you guys experienced from that, and how have you kind of leveraged that wave of communication technology, kind of centered around communication, really? How have you guys experienced any of that, or taken advantage of some of these things to further your business and your guys' career?
Yeah, it's actually been huge as far as not needing to go to like a bunch of these on-site meetings. I mean, especially commercially, we're traveling hour and a half, and then we're only going there for an hour meeting, and then you got that drive back. Now it's a matter of jumping on a call, get all the information. They do screen sharing, and it's like, there you go. I mean, there's an hour,
and you got a recording of it.
3 hours saved.
It's streamlined
that's
communication for sure. That's what it did. Is when you said technology, 100% technology has kind of taken over every industry because everyone's relying on it, and because of that, people started realizing that some positions and some jobs don't necessarily need a brick and mortar for them to be stationary, or we don't need to go visit in person. We can communicate like we are now via email, and people are gathering more information and sharing more information with more people at one time, in one space like this, and then getting together and talking about it. It puts everyone in a position for success without taking them away from their responsibilities. Like you said, the downtime from the windshield, man, like.
I love that you brought that up, Daniel, because there are a lot of job meetings. If you're in commercial, the commercial industry, there's almost always going to be a weekly meeting on your major projects. And that, I didn't even think of all the time that saves. So thanks for bringing that up. We've got the example, the actual real life example of superintendents talking to foremen, also allows that foreman to attend the job meeting, still maintain kind of control of the flow of the install, and still be there even if he's not feeling well, or he's got a family member not feeling well or whatever. So that's pretty cool, and it saves RPMs from going to the job site, just like you said, for a job meeting, and maybe that job's 2 or 3 hours away. It's a huge time saver. I mean, but technology can kind of, if you look at the social media side of technology, it can suck your production away if you get drawn in and you don't use it wisely. But and video calling and things like that can, some people can overuse it where a face-to-face is more appropriate. But in the vast majority of these situations, I believe that this technology kind of wave, and I know the technology was already there, but I think the thing that happened, that wave, is that it forced people into it.
Yeah, the guys that didn't want to have anything to do with it were forced to actually learn how to use it.
they had no choice. And because of that, now I believe it really has made a positive impact in a lot of ways. I don't know. One negative part of that, though, is maybe you want to just take off when you have a sick kid and be with them. And now the employer is somewhat expecting you to still work, right? Like
Yeah.
put your kid down and log in. So I guess that can cause some work-life balance issues, but your
Yeah, it does.
example of job foreman meetings is huge. What else? What else have you guys seen that like a positive that came out of this?
So one thing that it added for us is, we are obviously primarily commercial, but when we were creating the residential aspect and that part started growing, right? We were having some issues as far as being able to receive those type of accounts and justify them because we don't have the showroom, we don't have or a large showroom, we don't have the space to put displays down, a 50-foot wall. What I was trying to do before then is I was trying to do more of a mobile type showroom where I would try to consolidate samples, bring a limited amount with me so I'm not overwhelming the client or myself. And all I did was help justify that. It's like, hey, you guys, like, I can't really do that because of this. Like, people don't want me in their home anymore. I got to ship small samples directly to the clients now. So all I did was help us kind of restructure what we were doing and our approach for the residential aspect. And that carries over to some of the commercial as well.
Yeah, but that's a great point on the residential side. There's been a surge of companies redoing and revamping their websites to make it friendlier for consumers to buy online from their firm, from their company, scheduling, that kind of thing. The big surge on I was reading an article in Floor Covering Weekly about mobile showrooms, and people doing that, meeting homeowners on Zoom, and they'll send dual samples. So they'll keep a sample and they'll send a sample to the homeowner direct. I know that's happened where, and then you both have the samples and you meet on Zoom for a selection for their home. It's really kind of crazy, but yeah, it's created. Well, with gas prices, through the roof, it helps save there too. So that's an interesting take. I had a mobile showroom back in 2002, and we tried our hand in residential. We do about probably 10 at my flooring company. We probably do like 10 residential projects a year tops on the very top side. So we're really just a commercial contractor at this point. We did try our hand in residential, but it is interesting to see the real push, even manufacturers with their there's more coming out with room scene technology, so you can take a picture of your house and drop different floorings in there and see what they look like. You can do that on commercial as well, and we've actually used that some. So yeah, all that stuff, lessens the miles on the truck and increases productivity.
Yeah, and then all it does is give you more time to try to figure out a way to mash in a little bit more because you have that extra time, and you don't manage your time wisely, then you still put yourself in a situation.
That's counterintuitive, Daniel.
Yeah.
You said manage your time wisely, and then before that is like we're gonna mash some more in here. It's
Yeah.
funny, you fill the extra time you saved.
You find a way. You find a way to put it back to use.
Yeah.
It also helped with like the views, like how important family is, how important the employee's family, and time away from work. That's what COVID really did that for us. Like we ended up with a lot of extra time to spend with family. And although we make jokes about like, oh man, I can't wait to get back to work. I'm sick of these kids, or I'm sick of you. And it's just you say that out of love. You truly do. But once we got back to full force, you're like, man, really had a good time hanging out with the kiddos or doing this or having that free time to just do whatever.
Do you feel like it almost reset do you feel like it almost reset that work-life balance where you're like, maybe I was working a little bit too much pre-COVID and away from family too much, and some of that time savings you can reinvest back into family.
Yeah, it did. It did put into perspective the items you lose track of, the things you lose track of when you are totally involved in your own business. You do tend to lose track of things that you take for granted, right? It's because it's there. It's always there. It's set in stone. But it did kind of bring us back to reality for a little bit. And the sucky part about the whole thing is that once we restructured, started getting with these new times, and then the time management thing and adding more back on.
You end up being busier anyway.
Yeah, you get busier because now we're learning new processes, learning, like for me, new technology, and now you get lost in it again. But we, you have us on social media, on Facebook. We do spend quite a bit of time outside of work with our family, and a lot of sports, sports.
Yep. Yeah, I almost feel like it gave us a chance to reevaluate the whole work versus family. I would say that I'm probably as busy now as I've ever been, but I'm out of town. I'm for 4 days basically, and I can Zoom with family, and so even when you're away, and maybe I'm still as busy as ever, like I said, but the fact is I can Zoom in with my family and have some time with them or FaceTime. A lot of us knew this technology was there, but you like I said, it kind of got forced down our throat, and we got better at it. I would used a lot of the technology that was there, a lot of the options pre-COVID, but it certainly after COVID, I've become more proficient, better prepared to use it as a tool. And I think that's the key. Use it as a tool to accomplish your goals, whether or not it's family or business. So
we really seen that when we were over there with you, right? And there was one of your employees was out, and it's like, hey, we got this meeting. These people are joining via Zoom, and then we do the same thing here now with Teams. It's like, hey, I'm going to be gone in the morning, but I'm going to be driving, so I'm just going to get on this call, and we can still hash everything out on the go.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's been kind of unique, a unique aspect of it all. So outside of technology, there's, we discussed kind of the impact on family and how that's the positive side of that. We also talked about how we can be more proficient, we can earn more. I want to ask you, did this whole thing, now that we're on the back side of it, there's a bit of resurgence going on right now. I don't know about it's kind of pocketed throughout the United States. We actually had 5 guys down last week. The proficiency, we had a PM that was sick. He was down for 1 day. And like I said, he was able to simply work from home and as effectively as if he was in the office. So that was pretty cool to see. But now that you're on the back side of it, what if did we learn enough that if something happens again, we're better prepared? Do you think the industry overall, I'm not just talking about your company or my company, if you look at just the industry because during the pandemic, there was no trainings or no certifications going on. That's all opened back up. Do you see any possibility that the virtual training for flooring. Is there any legs there? Is there any way that we can leverage this where you can actually do some trainings virtually with actual flooring skills? Is that a possibility, or is it?
I think it is, and it's all based on your skill level now, right? Because there's, if you think about it, I've gone on YouTube, you've gone on YouTube, we go on there and you look at the stuff, and like we were talking about last time, it's, you kind of got to go with someone who knows what they're doing, right? And you got to be the judge of that, but you can learn a lot just from watching. And then when it comes to the actual, like, the hands-on training or an actual certification, that can always come later. A lot of the stuff that we tell the guys is just all, it's not even necessarily hands-on stuff, it's all the technical stuff behind why you have to do it certain ways. Mm-hmm. That's the important part, and that's the thing that kind of gets missed a lot, because I've been in certifications where one of the first questions asked was, who knows what F710 is? I'm the only one that raised my hand. And he's like, oh, it really doesn't, it's not important to you guys anyways. And I'm like, whoa. You need to back that up, because it's very important to us, because the installer's always the one that gets blamed for a job not going right and a failure. So if they don't know what they're supposed to be doing before they even start the job, then it's an issue already. So I think that once we get things set up to the point to where it is online and you can go online and it's, you watch a video and you have to test. I mean, no one likes tests, right? But that's how you make sure that you retain the information. And it could be a matter of you're watching that video 2 or 3 times, but I think that the future of it has to get with the times, and that's where the times are going. It's, the technology is there. We have to start utilizing it, just like every other industry is.
And
yeah, there's remote doctors that diagnose and prescribe over Zoom calls now. I mean, teledoctors, and Zoom. You go to a doctor's appointment on Zoom. Yeah. I mean, that is a positive in a lot of ways. You're not going to a medical clinic where you might get something else, you might get sick from someone else that's there, and you have something, or you pass it on to somebody else, whatever. If you're sick, there's a lot of doctors doing that kind of thing now. And so I asked that because, I mean, if you can do something as complex as diagnosing a human condition and then prescribing, can we not figure out how to do some of the training online? It does, whether it's a Zoom, that ends up on YouTube, or a training, like you said, Daniel. It's the mind stuff that you could do. I mean, you can't build hand skills. It's my opinion. You can't build hand skills on, video. But what you can do is, why do you need to use XYZ type of adhesive for this type of flooring, and those kind of chemical issues that we have to address every day as flooring installers. You can get that. I think that data can be online, and some of it is, but then test or do a on-site for the hands-on version of that, and increase the number of, maybe you have to take a online course or a video series and test at the end to then qualify to get to your hands-on piece of that or something. But I thought we ought to, with all this going on, all the capabilities for remoteness and training remotely, or doing work remotely, I thought it would be valuable for us to just kind of contemplate, how can we apply that now when it comes to trainings and certifications, those kinds of things. I mean, you can have a classroom on Zoom or on, Teams, where the instructor is teaching. All right. A lot of colleges are doing that. So surely we can do some of that, and really increase the amount of people that get involved. And then you can do an on-site, in-person type deal for hand skills only, with a precursor of finishing the video series or something.
Well, I just wrote down a bunch of notes as we're talking too, because I'm pretty sure that there is a way to do it via Zoom and train somebody, as long as the communication, ship out the same material. Say you have a training packet X to, participant A, B, and C. You ship out all the same material, the same specs, and you do a trainer with someone who's there doing the hands-on, multiple angles, and you can go through it live questions while they're, carpet training, while they're running a row, while they're seaming it up. It's just a matter of everyone having the right tools, everyone having the same material. I'm sure that there's a way.
And the right tools are
Yeah.
all based on the person too, because I use tools that he doesn't even like to use, right? You got to use what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. It's subjective for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the biggest challenge is you ship, a set of, but I mean, what if, let me finish that thought. You ship, the materials to them for a training, but if they don't have the tools, I guess you could do a whole package with the whole thing and package it into a bundle. Here's the tools you're going to need for this training, along with the materials you're going to need to go through the training. And I mean, you can't ship $1,200 welders, but you can do some of the basics. And that's why you can't just take away the person to person, nor would I ever want to do that. I like communicating with people, and Zoom is a tool, not a replacement for face to face. But
even in the networking aspect, it's nice that you don't have to go to the meetings and stuff, but still the networking events, it's different once you're there in person and talking, and you can actually be there and see the body language of someone. It's completely different, and that's what we've noticed too. It's like going to like chamber events and stuff, and I've done it online, and then you go to an event and it's like totally different atmosphere. But those are two different things. The training, you're there focusing on learning. Networking, you're there to actually meet and talk about and open up to other people.
Yeah, did you guys go to any of the conventions or anything like that that were on virtual convention center?
FCICA, we've been to a few of them.
Yeah, I've done a couple of them, and it's so easy to get distracted on that too, because you're sitting in front of your computer, you're not really 100% unplugging, and it's, I don't want to say it's not interactive, but you have the option.
Well, that's the challenge of it.
Yeah,
that's the challenge of it, is how do you stay engaged? How would you keep a new, somebody you're trying to teach something? Maybe it's not even a new guy. It's somebody who's really good at resilient, and is because we have a handful of guys that can lay sheet vinyl, flat lay sheet vinyl. If it's chemical weld, flat lay, they can do it. That guy now wants to learn how to flash cove heat weld. How do you keep them in? So this guy may even have, go and invest in some tools and have all the tools, but how do you keep them engaged? I think that's one thing we'd have to contemplate for some, if we're able to induce the industry to do some of this. And hell, maybe we'll do something on one of the huddles where we pilot something where you guys have some cameras set up and do a piece of it, and I have some cameras set up and I do a piece of a training. That'd be cool to kind of really see what that turns into. But keeping people engaged, I went to several conferences that were the virtual conference, and I can tell you that was at best, and I'm not trying to dog on anybody to set this stuff up, but at best it was informational at best. I didn't connect with anybody. The numbers went up. A lot of the organizations that set that stuff up said, well, our setup was we had a lot more participants on the the virtual
They don't have to
conference
travel. You're
versus.
going to get a lot more, and they don't have to worry
But
about.
the engagement was super bad. I mean, I even exhibited for Go Carerra, several of them, and the engagement was terrible because it was so easy for somebody to come to your virtual booth and they weren't really there.
Right.
On the other side of the screen, they weren't really there engaging with you. They just came to get the points because the only way that the virtual conferences could figure out how to really what am I trying to say? Like make sure that the attendance was there was to and try to increase engagement was to give people points for going to other people's booths in the trade show. The problem was it was so easy just to go to a booth and let your virtual self sit there while you're over here working on something totally different and then go to another booth, and you weren't really engaging in that exhibitor's booth at all.
And what you just said right there is an example of reaching 1,000 people versus reaching 10 people, right? If we're doing something virtual and you're only reaching out to 10 people, you can create a more personalized atmosphere versus a generalized atmosphere if you're reaching 1,000 people, because you're not going to be able to engage individuals one by one on that unless they're raising their hand and trying to, someone's going to have to sift through the questions and make sure that they're picking out what they feel are the important ones. Versus if it's 10, you can say, "Hey, Paul, what do you think?" Or "Hey, Daniel," or "Hey, Jose."
That's a good insight. If you think about it, say we created with other industry participants, we were able to create some training stuff online. Just hypothetical here. I should say remote, not online. So live, like now, if we were doing a training, we had 50 people on. Just because the technology is there, you're not going to be able to, like you said, engage with 50 people. So just because you have the capability of having 1,000 people on your call or on your training, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to be more effective or train 1,000 people. You really got to keep that back down to 15, 20, 30. So I think that is a really good point, that the virtual doesn't mean that you can just reach the world effectively with your message or with your training. That's a good point. Well, okay, so we're in this thing about 30 minutes, and I think in my opinion, we've touched on some really cool stuff. I contemplated this for a while, whether or not this was a huddle-worthy topic, but at the end of the day, kind of talking about, I wanted to dig in your guys' brain, maybe see if any questions come through that we can answer. But I want to dig in your guys' brain how you use that wave of technology to increase your business and do better. And you set it out of the gate. We're busier than ever, but we've saved a lot of time. So the assumption would be that we are working, we're getting more done in less time and possibly being more effective. As long as we use the tools correctly. I mean, we just talked about how to use it incorrectly, I think. But so I'm gonna open it up for questions. Looks like one came through. Do you see any new complications if any other shutdowns happen due to COVID? Read this new round is spreading faster than any of the others. So the question is really, do you see any new complications if another shutdown was to happen? Well, my opinion, I think there's going to be new ones because although we've prepared a little, it's something like climbing Mount Everest. Just because you did it once doesn't mean there's not new complications when you go to try to do it again. It's still going to be a battle, but I do think we're better prepared. You learn on your first rise to the summit, so to speak, some of the tools and equipment you need to grab onto to make your next ascent to Everest more safer, faster, and more productive. And I think if we see a bigger outbreak, I think we're all more prepared and have the tool set that can help us get through it in a lot faster, better, more productive manner. But and that's I'm not a doctor, so I don't know from a physical standpoint. But
it's not going to be such a shock like it was last time. Last time it was just a complete shutdown, right? Like no one was prepared for it. No matter what you say you were prepared for, you couldn't prepare for that. The labor aspect is totally different because if it does hit and it affects the labor, now we're already at a shortage. It's going to put us in a way worse position than we were before. So, people might scramble to get projects done because their business is hinged on the fact that they need to get up and running. They need to get their occupancy license inspection, so maybe a wave of installers going to come in and not necessarily know exactly what they're doing. Maybe more failures, which is going to put the mills back into a restructuring program to try to make it easier to install. I don't know. There's a lot of different angles you can look at it. But we can only prepare for what we know. And until we hit that, we'll never be ready.
That brings up a thought. In the first one, we had a lot of, from a national perspective, we personally didn't experience this, but from a national perspective, there was a lot of older installers that decided to call it quits. It was time. They were going to be down and out of work. They might as well go ahead and retire. If another one happened, I would fear that the ones that held on, we're 2 more years down the road. So somebody who was 58 at that time may not have pulled the trigger. Someone at 62 did. So if we have another resurgence that shut things down, I could see another wave of installers just calling it quits and I'm going to go ahead and retire. So I think if that just came to mind right at this moment. So I would think that would be a major complication, especially if it was extended. But I would say the new guidelines is like, if you get COVID, stay home 5 days or 24 hours without, to my understanding, 24 hours without fever and stay home for 5 days, right? So it's a lot better than if you came in within 6 feet of somebody who had COVID, you got to quarantine for 14 days, right? So it's already gotten a lot better on how we deal with things, and hopefully, the powers to be kind of handle it a little bit differently as well if there was a new shutdown.
And the understanding across the board is a lot better too. Like at first, we're like, what? Okay. All right, you got to go for 2 weeks or whatever, 14 days. You got to go for 10 days. Your kid, oh man, that means you're on quarantine now too. And then we had to try to relay that information to clients, and they were like, well, this has got to get done.
Well, on the flip side of that, I think they've actually, at least the GCs that we've been doing work for, have gotten a lot better when it comes to that stuff, because not only do they know that, one, you get sick, you're staying home. Like they're no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, I don't want you here if you're sick. And then 2, it's the labor shortage, and it's not just us, it's everywhere, right? So manufacturing, you look at the mills, and they're running into the same situations to where they get people sick and then they run behind. And it's been a struggle at times, because it's like, all right, I was supposed to get my material right on this day. Now we're coming up to it. Now I need to find something else that looks like this, and then it's
all right, Daniel. We're this is gonna turn into about a 2-hour podcast. We get into that one,
and they've just been really more mindful when it comes to that stuff, and more open to possibilities of, okay, we have to make this change in order to at least try and keep this on deadline.
Yeah, I think they're better prepared for sure. I remember one job in the first surge where, like, if somebody on site had it, they shut the entire job down. I had a huge project. The entire job got shut down for 3 days while they disinfected the entire construction site. That seems like crazy to me now, but that was normal. Like, we had that happen several times. Guys just because there was a couple of guys on the job site that had COVID, they would disinfect the entire site. And I'm no doctor. I'm not going to get into the politics of all that. But today, I feel like what you just talked about, Daniel, is the general contractors and owners being better prepared. I think at this point, if something did come up again, and then like you said, Jose, is that we're not going to be so caught off guard. That's for sure. We have some aspect of what to expect, and there's certainly going to be different things that happen, but we at least have, I don't know, I like the idea, the analogy of climbing Mount Everest. I mean, we did it once, we kind of know what to expect. That doesn't mean it won't be difficult the second time. It's going to be probably just as difficult. It's just you're better prepared, and so you can execute better. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Maybe we only made it halfway up Mount Everest. We just haven't seen the peak yet, So I guess when if that time comes, we just have to take it as it comes. There's really nothing else we can do.
Yep. All right, gentlemen, we've come to the end of the huddle. Thanks again for joining us. Do we have any questions that came in through email or anything like that? We'll see if we do. Let's see here. I think that's it. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I like the conversation today, and look forward to it again.
Okay, guys. Awesome. Thanks a lot. Speaking of technology, a little plug for Go Carerra. One of the things there is it's taking labor onto a digital platform. It allows you to do work anywhere. It also allows I'm up here down here in Memphis dealing with a client. That client is extremely excited that he's going to be able to have a network of great installers and maintain the consistency and the quality that he expects at his facilities. And for us to facilitate that means it's got to have the technology that allows the work, the supply side, the work to connect to installers. And we're working hard over here to bring a ton of opportunity to our installer network. So if you're an installer on Go Carerra network, we really appreciate you, and opportunities are building, and we're excited to bring these opportunities to not only the installing community, but there's got to be flooring companies that are on the network to be able to publish these work orders for these facilities. This is one of 3 national account programs we're working on right now. And so when facilities come up to the Michigan area, you guys are going to get to see some of that windfall, and there's plenty of facilities up in your area too. So it's going to be great. I appreciate you guys, and the conversation was awesome. So thanks for your insights, and we will catch you next week.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good. See ya.
Have a good week.
All right. See you guys.